It's the Penguin Party here. We've been away for a while. We've been having a little bit of a rethink about our group, but we decided it was more than time that we did another podcast for you. And a lot's happened since we did our last podcast. We've certainly been listening to other members of the Sims community on the official Sims forum about things that they're not particularly happy with. And as some of you may know, we actually started our own forum a couple of weeks ago, where people who want to have a good time, enjoy themselves, discuss their Sims, show off some of their creations, and talk about potential things happening to the Sims game and other life simulations in the future, have got a place to go and talk. And we're very pleased. We hope everybody feels very comfortable, and we're always happy to see more people because we're a big friendly family and we like to stick together because we have a lot to offer one another. Things had got to the stage with the official forum where none of us were feeling particularly comfortable. There was, to say the least, an atmosphere most of the time which was less than conducive to a reasonable, intelligent debate. And there was a lot of things going on which wasn't particularly pleasant. And people were not exactly welcoming the kind of feedback that the Penguin Party had to offer, or people that have come to join us on our forum had to offer. And in some instances, there were clear signs that stuff was actually being censored and moved, which we thought was a little bit off. And in one or two cases, there were some bans where we felt that it wasn't justified and we couldn't really see the reason for it. Obviously, that's up to the moderators on that particular forum. But we have, as I said, set up our own website. We spend our time there. Well, my colleagues do, because I'm the part-timer of the group. And basically, we're happy just to see people. I'll start off by saying, for those that don't know, there are 5 of us. I'm Betty Boop 55, okay, and then we have got Spark Fairy 1, Blue as blue as a butterfly, Will Z, and Anavastia. I think that comes to 5. I'm not very good at maths. So we are all going to do different things on this particular podcast. I'm doing the intro, and we've also got people talking about specific threads on our new forum, which we thought might be of interest. And then if you really like what you're hearing, you can always go and have a read. And as I said, we're always happy to see new people. And then we're going to have a little piece by Blue at the very end to tell you about where we're going in the future, and also to give out some thank yous, because there are some people that we really do need to thank. And really, I think that's all I need to say. But I would add that we do seek to provide a really comfortable place for fellow Simmers. We understand that the love of the Sims can encompass any version of the game or any of the side games, and it's nice to be able to get together and talk in a very friendly fashion.
Hi everyone, this is Spark Fairy 1 here. To follow on from Betty's introduction, we really wanted people's honest opinions without any silly attacks or silly behaviour like we get on the EA forum. So one of the first threads that I started was an honest answer to a genuine question. And I am of the mind that I don't want to influence other people in what I think. Sometimes I just want to know people's honest opinions without feeling that they've got to feel a certain way. So I started it without my own opinion on it and left it for other people to take on for themselves. So I'm going to start it for you, and then I'm going to go around the other girls to give their opinions of what's going on, and then it will come back to me and we'll explain it. But it's a way for us to show that we're not censoring, we're not going to be censoring people for what they really think. If we, you know, if we ever have a problem with behavior, then that's a different thing. But people's opinions are their opinions, and it's subjective, and they should be allowed to feel like they do without fear of derision. So here we go. um, now I know this is a subject that can be quite dramatic on the EA forums, but bearing in mind the nice atmosphere here, I wanted to ask you, what is your honest personal opinion on the way EA have handled the release of TS4? How do you feel as a customer, and what would you have done if you were in charge? And lastly, do you believe in the "we are listening" replies? We won't be censoring for EA here, so we think that here is a chance for people to let things out honestly without fear of daft attacks. Now, this is one of our featured threads that we're going to be doing every now and then. What that means is that people from outside of the forum will be able to read, but they won't be able to participate unless they sign up to the forums. But it means that people can come along and see what the tone of our forum is and whether they feel comfortable in sharing with us. So, guys, what do you think?
I think it's great. I think it was a place that we needed, to be honest, and it was a place we needed a place. And I like that you asked it. I like it that you asked it the way that you did.
Thank you.
So the thread, first of all, I think serves a really good purpose because, um, you do have a lot of people who are coming here and who are finally able to say exactly what they do think without having to be all, stiff and rigid and feel like they have to watch what they're saying. And you're still getting, as we notice from looking at the thread, a really good exchange of ideas. And as far as, as what I think, with the question being asked, um, I think most of us think that it could have been handled better, um, as far as the way that it was released. Um, I think that especially in this particular game, in this particular series, what the customers want and what they expect and what they've grown to love about the series is extremely important, and I don't think enough attention was paid to it. I think that a lot of shock was pretty foreseeable considering how much of what we love was cut. And the reply to that from them has just been basically either silence or we hear you, or, if you don't like it, go play The Sims 3. And I think that's a mistake as well, because part of what I personally loved about the previous Sims games was feeling like this is a game like none other. This is a game that incorporates so many things that I love, and um, discussing it with other people, and so many things that they loved that were different from the reasons that I played. So I think dismissing large concerns and large portions of your fan base, especially with a game like this, where it's so personal, is a huge mistake. Um, and I do think that if the We Are Listening was accurate, we would have seen a lot more steps toward improvement and toward, um, adding in features that people have really been missing, and the tone of the game as well. You would see a lot more options, you'd see a lot more flexibility, and a lot more communication, especially because that's one thing that we've seen from the very beginning is that we want more communication, um, and we have been getting less than we did even at the beginning. So, in short, no, I do not believe that we hear you.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
thanks.
agree. I
Mm,
agree. And
mm.
if I can go, um, yeah, the other thing, because I didn't ask the question, I just was, complimenting the thread, but my opinion on it, even for the answer, is no, they didn't handle it before the release properly either. They didn't handle it before or after or during. So like, how looking at even the fan base when we found out that no toddlers were going to be in the game, and the 20,000 petition that came up, you know, where they never said anything to those fans in regards to we're going to put in toddlers later, or they never said anything to fans who were upset about creative style being removed from the game. So, and there's a lot. The builders, when they found out about the terrain, a lot where all simmers had some form of gameplay affected, and EA sort of brushed us all under the rug. They have not given us any response, and I don't think honestly they handled even the whole changeover with Sims Olympus, because obviously all of us know that Sims 4 was Sims Olympus, the MMOG, and I don't think they should have made this decision. I don't think if they were going to scrap the game, they should have scrapped it fully, and they didn't. They carried it over. So how I would have handled it from the beginning would have been not to create the game. I would have cut my losses, because this was you know, a disaster waiting to happen. And the customer service that followed after it has been abysmal. I mean, you don't become silent when you have an entire fan base willing to just walk out the door on you. That's when you start to throw out information, educate, and you negotiate. And there's none of that going on right now. And it's a worrying situation. Why don't you negotiate with your fan base to try and keep your customers? That doesn't make sense to me. It's like they don't want the customers. And the censorship, not just on the forums, they're censoring Twitter, they're censoring Facebook, they're censoring all of the avenues where even the forums where they don't own them, they're run by fans. They've got their hands on the other fan forums, and they're censoring those forums where they don't want content to be talked about that's negative about Sims 4. Okay? So are they listening? No, they're bullying us. They're bullying us into submission. They want us to be in these groupthink environments where we are not free to say what we want to say. They just want to take our money for a game that we just don't like.
Okay, Betty.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to have somewhere where you don't have to feel threatened all the time, or you don't have to watch what you say or how you say it, purely and simply because you know if you put it in a certain way, you're going to get serious hassle, not only from other simmers, but also potentially from the moderators on the main forum. And that I think is really nice. There were other things about the main forum that did worry me. At times it could be a bit like the Wild West in there, and you know the game is supposedly for teenagers and upwards. And whilst adults can deal with a lot of aggression and sarcasm, that particular age group is, shall we say, a bit on the sensitive side, and needs a certain degree of protection, which I didn't feel that they were necessarily getting, and that could be quite worrying at times. That said, and I'm going to put this quite bluntly, the launch of Sims 4 is just clearly demonstrated to me that EA couldn't organise a proverbial in a brewery. And for those of you that don't know what a proverbial is, go and look it up, because I'm not going to spell it out for you. But the whole point is it was very badly handled, very badly organised. And I mean, what producer of any product comes out and says, right, by the way, I'm producing this new product. It's got, it hasn't got this, it hasn't got that, it hasn't got everything else. But by the way, it's just got this. I mean, that was just totally arse about face, for want of a better phrase. And it just was really quite worrying. I actually cancelled my pre-order because it was so bad. And as Anna has rightly said, the level and quality of service, certainly since the game has been out, particularly with bugs and glitches and other things, has been pretty dire. And this business of telling us that they're actually listening to what we're saying, that they want our feedback, I don't think is necessarily so. I think they're being very selective what they take in terms of feedback, and again that worries me. It's almost as though the PC side of it and the older generations that do play this game, of which I am one, have just been completely pushed to one side. And again, I'll agree with Anna, it's not just the family players that are really suffering out of this. It is those that go for the more creative things, the storytellers, the builders. We've all lost that little something that we had in previous Sims games that made it playable, that made it really enjoyable for us, and that hurts. And that's really what I want to say.
Okay, that's good. Okay, now I'll give you my personal opinion. To be quite honest, from a premium company, I expect far more, and EA have won the worst company awards many times, and I don't think they're turning that round anytime soon if this is anything to go by. I expect when I pay premium prices for things to be finished on time, to have sufficient staff, to have sufficient ongoing service. This is supposed to be apparently a live service product, but since we've had it released, all they did was once they saw the backlash, they announced a few patches for things, smaller things that were probably easier for them to put into the game than toddlers, admittedly, but then I don't think that's an excuse. By now, they should have come up with a plan to deal with this and to come out and to be honest with the fan base. It is not fair for your customers that have supported you for 15 years to be turning around and for you to dismiss them. For in interviews, when you're asked about family play, for you to turn around and say you're surprised when you've got a forum with a thread that's the most popular thread on the forum, with people begging you for improvements in family play. Another reason that we know you're not listening is because of the way that the Get to Work expansion was handled. People were asking for you to tone down the way that you were doing goals. The goals in the game were over the top and people were getting bored because the replayability wasn't very good, because it's the same task for every sim every time. And what did you do? You just released another EP that has more of it in a game in the expansion. So as much as they say we are listening, I think they're very selectively listening, and I think it's clear when you go on their Twitter or you go on their Facebook, the only people they communicate with are the same people, and that's a problem. If you're saying that you want feedback, your feedback should be honest feedback from all quarters. It shouldn't be from people that are afraid because of sponsorship or other things, because they're tied up with you, to say what they really think. They should be able to be honest with you and say to you what they think, and you should be coming and talking to the people that are really disappointed, because you might learn some things that maybe you missed. It's a learning experience for everyone, and anyone in life makes mistakes, but the way that you turn that round is the way people judge you. It's not about the mistake in the first place. And the way that I see the senior members of the team constantly dismissing the complaints of people, I think that's really disrespectful. I'm sorry, but that's not professional in my book, because these people have got genuine reasons for how they feel. And if you're dismissing them, then you're allowing other people in the community that like your game to basically turn around and bully the people that aren't happy. And I don't think that's right, especially on a game that's marketed to teenagers. Because if a teenager happens to be a family player or a builder or a decorator that loves the creative elements, are you really wanting them to come onto your own sites or onto Facebook, onto Twitter? Are you really wanting to be tacitly approving of people calling them out on the internet just because they think they need to defend you? EA shouldn't need anyone to defend you. You're a big corporation. You don't need people to defend you because you shouldn't be doing these things in the first place. These things should never have happened. There should be someone that comes out to talk to the fan base and acknowledge us and deal with the issues. If you just ignore people with issues, the frustration level builds. And what's happening on the official forums is every time you do an Ask a Sim Guru, it's getting less and less how many you do. And then you're making them even more censored by saying you can only ask about, say, the stuff pack. Well, how much can you answer about a stuff pack? There's hardly anything in a stuff pack. It's a small investment for people. What do you expect people to ask you of value from a stuff pack? People need to be able to communicate with you, and the reason why those threads get hijacked by people that don't know how to connect with you is because you're not communicating. And all the while you're not communicating, you're responsible for those people feeling they don't have a say. And that's how I feel about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Anastasia, and I'm just going to be showcasing today some of the fun parts of our forum. Penguin Party, even though we have such very serious discussions, we also have very fun areas in our forum right now too. We want users to come in and feel at home with their creative designs. We want them to showcase their worlds, showcase their fan arts, machnas, any fun stuff that you can think of that you do with Sims. You are more than welcome to post them on our forums. We have one of our users that are very active, Smokey, and he's just been posting lots of content, lots of screenshots. He has a CAW world that he's been working on that he's got up in our forums. And it's just, we want people to be a community again where we see each other's work and we play with it and we work together. And it's one of those situations, just like we were on all the other forums. So I'm going to talk about our favorite world thread today. And the favorite world thread is where the users come in and they talk about what world from the Sims games were their favorite. So Wisely actually started this thread, and it got very popular very fast because I think users generally do have a favorite world they like to use. So I was going to say, girls, what are your favorite worlds?
Okay. My favorite world is well, I actually have a few because it kind of depends on what I'm playing, but I'd have to say that my number one favorite as far as being different and being unique and sort of what I had been wanting all along has to be Roaring Heights because of the sort of period stuff and the townies wearing period clothes and the buildings being so stylized. I really like that. But I also like that each of the worlds, and even, I mean, player created worlds, the Maxis created worlds, they're all so different from each other. So whatever tone you want, for each family, you can create it in that world that reflects it. And then I love reading these threads like this because that's pretty much what everybody does. You hear about, oh, I created this family and this was the world that I put them in and this is why. And I just love reading about that.
Yeah, I do too.
I've got lots of worlds. I'm even making my own world at the moment, which is fun. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm playing, I'm a bit like Blue. I do very much like Roaring Heights. I also like Lucky Palms. It just and I love going to the casino there and mucking around. That's really very, very good for me. And if I'm looking at the EP worlds, Moonlight Falls, because again I play a lot with Supernatural, so that's quite a good one. And if I'm building, I quite often use Hidden Springs. So that's me and my worlds.
Yeah. I really like Roaring Heights. This is a really popular world. I'm really into Art Deco, but I also really like playing in sunny worlds. I just love that sort of beach feel. At the moment, I think I'm in where I am at the minute in my world. Let's just have a look. I'll have a quick look and see. Documents. Current games. Worlds. Sunlit Tides, and that's beautiful because it's a small little community and it's just really, really pretty, so I love it there. But I'm slowly going through, and I've been looking at the fixed worlds, and since I've been doing that, that's really brilliant. I'm really, really grateful to the community for stepping up and fixing the problems that were left in there by EA, so thank you.
And one of my worlds that I tend to really like is I think that's called Moonlit Falls, right? Is that the supernatural world? I'm bad at this because when I play, I just want to play for the large world so I can gut all the buildings and put all the venues in I want. And so Moonlit Falls is like a huge world that I want to put my stuff in. And like it's either that or I end up getting like making my own world where I have all this stuff in it. Like that's how I judge the world by like how many venues can I make in it.
Hi, this is Blue, and I wanted to welcome everybody to the podcast and talk a little bit about some different aspects of our forum as well. One of the things that really impressed me from day one about the beginning of the forum was everybody who signed up has just been so kind and so welcoming, and we created a little introduction section where people can play little introduction games and get an introduction to the admin team and introduce themselves and just sort of get acclimated to the forum. And so many people created threads here and were so welcoming of everybody else. It's been really nice to see that people are just comfortable here and are expressing themselves. We've had some really good laughs and some funny moments in this section, and I've really enjoyed reading it. So I hope that continues, and that's a really good place to start out if you're just coming to our forums. The next thing that I wanted to bring up was sort of the future of where we hope to go with all this, and I know that it's something that we've discussed a lot here at Penguin Party. One of the threads that has been very interesting to read that sort of touches on this has been the moving forward thread in the Let's Brainstorm section by our very own Wilsey, and it discusses the future of not just the Sims series, but the life simulation genre. Basically, whether EA handles it, whether another company handles it. And so the thread asks, how would you feel about a new company taking your ideas into consideration to create the game everyone wanted from the start? And I think that's a really important question, and it's one that we intend to address at length here. You know, there have been a lot of questions in this podcast, on other forums, on other sites around the web about the way that this was done, the way that The Sims 4 was publicized, and also about some of the way that it's been discussed and the communication issues and the features that are missing. And so a lot of people have been saying, let's just scrap it and move on to Sims 5. A lot of people have been saying, you know, since City Skylines came out, let's find a new company to do it. And so it does kind of raise the question, you know, how would people feel about the future of a sim game being, you know, a life simulation and not specifically the Sim series, taken out of EA's hands and put into the hands of a company that would give us better customer service, better respond to our feedback and our concerns. The responses have been really varied and really interesting, and we're going to put all of these threads that we've been discussing today on the featured section so that any of you who are interested in reading deeper into that and getting to know more about our forum will be able to see it. And if you want to comment on it, feel free to sign up and join the conversation. We're always happy to have new members here, and we want to hear what you think. And any potential company that, you know, might come along who might be interested in developing a life simulator, as well as EA if they decide to change their tune and actually, you know, start listening to their players. We hope that all of this commentary and the discussion will help them as well, because the most important thing is to tell them what it is we want to see so that we don't get this evil genie syndrome where, you know, they're sort of creating what they think we want, or what they want to do and not really listening to their player base and their fans. We all want to avoid that, I think, in the future. Here at Penguin Party, we're also planning to do more frequent podcasts. We want to make sure to cover E3, which we know is coming up. We don't have a lot of information about that yet, but we'll keep you guys posted. We also want to thank everyone who has been supporting us and who has been working to make this community, you know, really push forward and become a flourishing environment for everyone. We want to send a special thanks to Honeywell and our member Smoogie for giving us shout outs and helping to help other people find our community. Again, registration is completely free. It's open, so you don't have to be approved to register on our forum unless there's not a mod available. We want to keep an eye on things, so we do require approval when a mod is not on hand immediately. And if you are interested in anything that we've been talking about today, again, please look at the description of this video. We're going to be posting links so that you can follow along, and we'll also include links to Honeywell's blog and to Smoogie's video. So we hope you've enjoyed listening, and happy simming.